Hello residents of Meepletown, and today we are going to be visiting the Isle of Azul, where the last known civilization is vying for control over the land, trying to take over the empire, but you have the chaos trying to move in and also take over the empire. So we're all vying for control, and whoever has the most points at the end of the game is going to be the winner. So let's get to the table and check out Uprising, Curse of the Last Emperor. Alright, here is the setup for Uprising, and as I mentioned, we are taking on the roles of different factions. I've got the red player over here, the yellow player. We're going to be trying to have the most points on the track after the end of 4 chapters. Now, I'm not going to play the entire 4 chapters, but that's just the goal of the game. Now, each player, in order to win, is going to have to be ahead of both the Empire, which is the purple, they're the Imperial Legion up there, and then the Chaos Horde, and they will be also moving up the track, gaining points. So we want to make sure that we stay ahead of them in order to win the game. Now, this chapter track kind of shows everything that you're going to be doing throughout the chapter. I'm going to follow along that. Just know, by the way, there's a decent amount of rules in here. I feel very confident that I'm probably going to mess something up as I'm trying to explain it and play 2 characters. But I hope I give you a good idea of what you're trying to accomplish. So far, I have done the refresh phase up here, which is just kind of setting out the board, all of those things with, putting out new quests and putting out item cards and flipping over the chapter card, which is what we're about to do right now. And then I'll kind of show you what we're going to do. But just so you know, we're going to be battling these different types of creatures in order to, again, gain points. That's the main way to get points. But we're also going to be questing and doing other things to do that as well. So where we're at right now is the event phase. And so first in the event phase, you're going to add 2 threat to all legions and hordes in play. Excuse me, we don't have any of those yet, but we will have some of those very soon. And then the first player is going to draw and read the next event. And that's what we're going to do right now. So this says hunger, and this is the starving mobs. And hopefully it's not too spoilery by reading this. There's several of these different chapter cards in the event cards for each of the chapters. In the box, this is just one that I pulled out at random. So it says, hunger and despair turned innocent survivors into bands of robbers and thieves who roam the land. Your followers are doubling their efforts to protect your haven from this threat. So the very first thing that's going to happen, it's going to say that every player, I'll just show you that up there, by the way. It's going to say that every player is going to place 1 wall and 1 tower in their haven, which is very, very helpful for us. Havens are these little discs right here, and as these come off of our board, off of this board, it means that we'll be able to gain more resources during that phase of the game, during the production phase. So it says we're going to, again, add a wall and add a tower, which, as you can imagine, is going to help with our defenses. You're going to be able to see this on the board, so it'll allow us to have more dice that we roll whenever that, there we go, whenever our havens are attacked. All right, so that's the first thing. Good thing, right? That's excellent. We got some stuff, but I'm gonna go ahead and tell you that this game is gonna beat you down, and so you know that bad stuff's coming if something that good is gonna come. So then it says, in the sky there were flickering lights behind the clouds at night, and the moons were blood red. So it says place 1 horde at threat 4 in the howling white, not adjacent to a haven. So what that means is we're going to flip over a horde card, and that is, again, I keep saying horde and empire. Yellow is the horde, and then purple is the empire. I don't know if I said that already. So this says you're going to place 1 horde at threat 4, and threat 4, it's going to show you this number on here. This is going to be the threat number, and basically what that means is that's the health. But it also, I don't know if you saw it on there, you can see that more dice are the higher up you get. So as it gains more threat, and it will gain threat, excuse me, if we don't take care of this, then it's going to go up every event phase. We're going to put that at a level 4, and this one is the Coven of Yasat. And it says every player places one. This thing happens immediately. So one player is going to place one unused action token on this card, and you don't regain them in the refresh phase. That's bad news, really bad news. So when it comes to our turns, we're going to be able to take these action tokens. I don't think you can see those on camera. We have 8 of these to start off, but right now we have to put one on top of the card until we're able to take care of that. And so that's, that's really bad news. So each of us, we're gonna take one, we're gonna put it on top of there. And then we will, that's all that's going to happen for that one. But the second part of this, we didn't put the actual character out. I probably should have done the right thing. Let me just pull this over here and taken that character and put it out there. Oh goodness, there's a bunch of these on here. And I probably could have done this before we actually started, but here we go. So we're going to have this one, and it is going to go threat 4 in the Howling White, not adjacent to a haven. So we got the Howling White up here, not adjacent to a haven over there. Now we can put it right here. What it's going to do when it moves, it's going to move towards the capital, which is not bad, right? But the problem is I also need to be able to attack it because it's going to be affecting us again because it's already taken those tokens. Let me put that other one on there. So we'll see how that plays out. Now the second one, it says we're gonna place one horde at threat 4 in the Screaming Sea. Now this Screaming Sea is down here and also down here, also not adjacent to a haven. So let's draw one more of those. And this one we have the Banished. And the Banished is gonna be at threat, probably should lay these down so you can see those a little bit better. I'll talk about that during the art and components, but that might help you a little bit. Probably should have taken those off the stands, but we'll just see how that pans out. I don't know how well you can see that, but they stand up really well on the board. Okay, so this one says set the Banished threat to 5. So initially we normally are going to set these to 4, but nope, not this one. The Banished comes out at a level 5, which is all the way up at the top, which means it's going to be really difficult to attack that one. And then it says choose one quest, excuse me, and resolve its failure effect. So as we quest, if we get those, we get good things, right? As you can imagine, from questing. But this says, no, you're going to choose one that's going to be a bad thing and then just have that thing happen to you. And that's bad. So all of those are just taking points away, which we don't have any points yet, so actually that is not the end of the world. But when we resolve it, it says to discard this quest. Now, why that could be bad is because we're taking away quests that could potentially be things that we really want to be good for us. And this is a good example. I really would like the two of the allies, and so I'm not going to do that one. Now this one, Empire gains 2 and discard this quest. Don't want that to happen. Chaos gains 2 and then we discard that quest. Well, I can't really allow that to happen either. So as much as I want this one, excuse me, I'm just going to I'm going to discard that. Now that means we're going to have a one less quest to work with right now, which is quite the stinker. That's not what we want to happen, but that's what happens during that event phase. So that's it. So the first player draws, and you're going to read that. Then we're going to place activation tokens on the on those cards, and that will matter whenever we actually activate those cards. It shows how many times we're going to activate them. And the last chapter, you're going to actually do that twice, so they get much more difficult in that last chapter. Now we're going to draw 2 feats from our feat deck, and we're going to keep one and put the other at the bottom of your feat deck. So what that is going to do is benefit us. So we're going to draw 2 of these, and we're going to keep one. These are our kind of special ability things that happen to us throughout the game. And so we have cards like this, which will allow us to add different dice whenever we do our hero dice rolls, which is really helpful. And then this one is an action that will allow us to be able to do something special. So in this case, it says discard this to gain 1 item from the market, and then discard even if you could not use this, even if you couldn't use it. So, do I want this to be able to gain? Wow, that's really good, isn't it? to gain an item. I tell you what, I'm actually not going to do that. As much as I want that, part of me would really like to be able to have my hero have some better attributes and maybe do some questing, and that's so now I'll have 1 magic dice. I'm not going to explain what that does yet, but I'll just let you know that each one of these different numbers on here, and you probably can't see that, is going to add to your hero dice rolls, and so we'll see all of that play out. And then it says when you gain this, gain 3 resources, choose might or magic and place this under your hero card. So the other benefit of that is gaining 3 resources, which is really nice. I think what I want to do is, I think I would like to be able to build some of these things up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 salt, and then I will take a, let's see, do I want to take plunder or food? I think I'll take let's take a food. Food might help me build up a little bit more. I'll explain why those are valuable. They're resources, to pay for things, as you can imagine. So that's what the red player is going to do. Kahal the Destroyer. Now the Ranja the Wanderer is going to do the same thing. So we're going to draw 2 of these cards. Now these are a little bit different. These are going to take place, actually both of these, during the archery phase. If you can see that right there, that will really benefit us during that phase. So if I have 2+ hunters on this one, I'm going to gain a blue die, which is really helpful. And this one says flip this to reroll any of your white dice. Now this would be helpful if I'm using my archers. That would be really helpful. So I think what I'm going to do is I'll keep this. Now this happens before damage, and when it says to flip that means I'll have to, I won't be able to gain that back until a little bit later in the game. So we did the feat dice. Now we're going to build any units, towers or walls from the resources of your havens. So we have all these resources here. We're just going to be building up our defenses. Now one thing we need to know is we can't have more than 5 units on our spaces. I kind of want to save some resources anyway. The costs are going to be down here. I'll do this very, very quickly just to kind of show you. With the red player, I think what I want to do is take 4 of my salt resources, and I'm going to put out 3 archers. Excuse me, 2. I can't count. There we go. I'm going to put 2 archers out there. They're going to go onto your havens. And then I'm also going to build, let's say, 3. Yeah, we'll do that. So I'm going to spend 3 to put my tribesmen out there. Now when I said units, said I was going to lay these down. It's kind of a mess now. I'm actually just going to stand these up. I'll show you them as we get there. Your hero does not count as a unit. It's something a little bit different. So even in attacks and things like that, it's not going to be a part of those attacks. It's just going to be exploring. Basically, it's going to be the what the book says, avatar for moving they're taking your actions. So now over to the yellow player, they're going to do the same thing. Now costs are a little bit different. All these are asymmetrical. This one says any 2 resources to build my hunters or my cells words. And so what I'm going to do is put as many out as I can. I need to be able to at least save one of these, one of my food. So it's going to be 2, 4, 8, and tell you what I'll do. 2 of these. My havens cost 2 for this character. They're 3 for this character. So something else I need to keep in mind. So I'm going to put out 5 different troops. And you remember I wanted my archers from this character because they're going to, I have a special ability that allows me to reroll. So I'm going to put 3 archers out. I'm going to put 2 of my warriors out. And I'll explain why all that matters whenever we get to a battle. So that's all I'm going to do. I can't really buy any havens since I don't have any other areas that I have control over. Now we're going to do the action phase. This is really kind of the crux of the game. And I'm going to just kind of show you how these different actions play out. And then we'll kind of do all the rest of that. But up till now, we're just kind of creating everything, kind of building up our army and seeing what happens with the events. Now we really get to what we want to be able to do. Now, what I need to be able to do is I need to be able to attack some of these characters out there, but I also need to be able to go into some of these areas and explore. So the red player, I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to spend one of my action point tokens and I'm going to move over here. Now these are unexplored, but they show you what the items are that you could gain from those locations. I kind of want to go for the salt, so I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go over to this one, and you don't get to automatically explore. You have to take an action to explore. And normally you just do one action, the other player does an action. With the move action, you can actually just spend one move and then immediately take an explore action to do that. So I'm going to flip this over, and this has some things that are going to happen on it immediately. So this stuff is going to happen, and this stuff could happen later on in the game if I have control over that. I can also place this however I want. If you notice, you got these little rugged terrains there. Those are areas that you cannot go into, that your units can't cross over. So I want to make sure that my units can cross over into that location. But as the different legions come out onto the board, I don't really want them to come through there as easily to get to my area. So I'll put it like that, and that allows me to be able to do that. Now I can't move my units, I didn't say this, but I can only move my hero, and then later on, if I want to take an action to command, I can spend one food to command my army to move over there, or at least some of them, and then attack if there's anything there to attack. So this says, if empty, I'm going to place one skeleton here, and if not, I'm going to reinforce. By the way, I never did put out that other, you're probably screaming at the camera, I never put out the banished character, so I need to do that, and that one's going to go into, what did it say? The Screaming Sea, I believe it was. Nope, I'm looking on the wrong spot. Here we go, over to the Screaming Sea, not adjacent. So I'm actually just gonna put it over here. There we go. So that's gonna be moving towards me and attacking me in just a minute. So I need to be aware of that. That's going to happen. I actually could put it over here and not worry about that for right now, and then try to attack it on my own time. Let's just say that I did that. Okay, so then I'm gonna place one skeleton here, and I think I got one right here. So I'm gonna place a skeleton here because it's empty. Now, if it wasn't empty, then I would reinforce, which I would place another skeleton, and then I'm going to roll my hero dice and gain the, I'm gonna gain salt per skull thing, icon that I roll, and then each other player is going to get 2 salt. Actually, this is really, really nice. So now I'm gonna go down here and I'm gonna look at Call the Destroyer's card, and I'm gonna see that I've got 3 might here. I've got 1 lead. The leader die that I'm gonna read, there's no of the, neither one of these other ones, but at the bottom I do have a magic. So I'm gonna roll all of these, and we'll see what happens. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. That's gonna give me 4 salt. That is really, really nice. So I'll take those 4, and then every other player, in this case, one other player, I just made kind of a mess down here. I guess because I didn't spend those earlier. Told you, there's gonna be lots to keep up with. All right, so I take 4 of these. I can't remember if I just gave them 2 or not. They started off with 5, and they spent some, I don't think I did. Maybe I did. It probably won't really matter since I'm only playing 1. If they get 2, I get 4. Woohoo! Good stuff going on. Now, if I'm able to build a haven here, also, I'll be able to produce salt in this area. It produces 2 salts every round, every chapter, which is really, really helpful. And it also has this ice waste icon on there, which, if it has icons, they could potentially affect the, you could have terrain effects whenever battles are happening. All right, so that is the red player's turn. Over to the yellow player. Yellow player is actually just gonna do the same thing. I'm going to spend 1 to move, and then I'm going to explore. And let's say I'm, oops, moving the wrong character there. I'm gonna explore over on this side. I wanna try to get over to that unexplored sea tower, which I'll explain that in a little bit, but mainly that just, it makes that location in the sea towers. All of these sea tower locations are adjacent to every hex on the board, which is really helpful. Okay, so this one says, you can see I'm gonna gain 3 salt, which is excellent. I'm getting all kinds of resources. If empty, I'm gonna place a skeleton here, which it is empty, so I'll grab a skeleton. It's gonna go on here, and if not, I would reinforce, which means I just add another one on there. And then I'm gonna place two skeletons with other skeletons. Now what this means, why this matters, is because, so first put a skeleton there, then I'm gonna take two more skeletons and put them with other skeletons. Now if you go to have three skeletons in a spot, then you're going to produce another one of these hordes. So like all these skeletons are coming together, a horde comes into play, and then they're going to just really beat you down. So you have to keep that in check. I'm gonna place two skeletons with other skeletons. So I'm gonna take this here, and I'm just gonna I'll put it up here by this character right there. So now this one means I'm really gonna have to go over there and attack those, because otherwise some bad things are going to happen. So that is that player's turn. They did, whoops, there we go, move that over there. And kind of the same thing, actually. It's almost the same type of tile that I had on the other one. So, all right, now over here, I would like to be able to attack all of those. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take an action to do that. I'm gonna pay a food token, and then I'm gonna move, do I wanna move all of these over there? That is my question. I do think, yep, I think I do. I think I'm gonna be a little bit safe, but on the next round, I'm gonna need to go down here and attack the skeleton, and that curse token that's there as well. I'll explain that. Basically, the curse just means I can't put anything there, can't put any hexes there, but also I can't use any of my lightning bolt abilities if those come up. Yes. All that will matter whenever the battling happens. So, all right, so I paid one to move there and move all of those into an unexplored hex. And again, I couldn't have crossed over that terrain. Now what's gonna happen is a battle. So we're gonna look at this combat sequence, and this is gonna show us what is going to, how the battle is going to play out. So basically we're gonna check terrain. We are battling two skeletons here. We're gonna check the terrain and see if there's any special things that might happen. Again, we're on ice waste, so nothing special is gonna happen there. Then we're gonna check the combat abilities of those, and this is gonna show us what happens with the skeleton. Now skeletons do have a special ability, but nothing's gonna happen right at this very moment. Now we're gonna do the archery round. Now, the skeletons don't have an archery ability, which is really helpful for us because we do. We have two of our, I think two of our dead eyes out here. That's what these are right here. So if I look over on the board, they have an archery ability, but they're also going to be combating during the clash round. So basically what you're gonna do, if we do both have those abilities, we're gonna roll at the same time, but we don't. And so I'm going to roll two. I've got two in there, and it's kind of neat. They got the icons on those standees showing you that you're rolling one white die for your archer. So I'm just gonna roll these two. I also, if I have any feat items, which this one says during archery, if I have two vargs there, I'm gonna gain one orange die, yellow die. I don't. That's one of my better units over there. So I'm gonna roll that. All right, now skulls are good. That's what I want. If I'm rolling, you know, for my attack, I want that to happen. Skulls are going to hit them, and then the shields are going to block any of the skulls that they have whenever they're attacking me. Now, if I had any lightning bolts on this, which I don't think there are any on this one, some of the other dice have lightning bolts on there. If I do roll those, then what that means is I'm going to be able to activate any of those lightning bolts that I might have on my items or my feat cards or the druid cards that came up. There's 4 out there right now. One's going to be flipped over at the beginning of the game, and then the other ones will be flipped over. So I have special abilities that I can get from those druids and probably some other places I'm just not thinking about right now. But anyway, what I rolled is this. So I'm going to take out one of their units right off the bat. Now that's great for a couple of reasons. One, it's going to help me whenever they attack this second round. They're not going to roll as many dice, and that's really, really good. I'm also going to gain a victory point for every one of those that I take off. So right now, I just got my first victory point, unless I missed something in the rules in the playthrough so far because I'm talking so much. But I think that's my first victory point that I got so far. Okay, so archery round happens. Now what's going to happen is the clash round. So we're going to look at and see our sword abilities. If we have those, now the skeleton will roll for the swords. And I will also roll all of my characters because you're not just rolling your the ones that just have the swords, but my archers are also going to be in this battle. And then if not everybody's dead, that's going to happen over, but you only do that archery attack that first time. So you shoot your arrows and everybody runs into battle, and then you keep clashing it out until that battle is over. So now we're going to roll simultaneously, although I'm going to roll not simultaneously, but normally you would do that. I have, in this case, I've got three of those yellowish orange dice, so I'll be rolling these against only one of their red dice. But you might think, wow, they don't have a chance. It's not entirely true. If the skeletons roll a lightning bolt, then they'll actually be able to gain another skeleton in that hex, which could be really bad, because if it happens multiple times and they're gaining 3, a horde's going to come out. So bad things can happen there. I'm going to go ahead and, well, I guess I could roll these simultaneously. So that's going to be my roll. Not a bad roll. Not a great roll either, though, because I've got 3 skulls and they have 1. What would have been really nice, and I had lots of opportunities with the dice that I have, with my white ones, is I would have loved to have gotten a shield on there, but alas, I did not, and I don't have any rerolls for the red player. So what I'm going to do, is that right? Yep, I do not. Okay, so I will take out this skeleton, giving me a point again, which is really helpful. So you can imagine you're going to want to battle in this game because you need to get those points to get farther and farther ahead, and they'll get a ton of points. Don't worry about that. Okay, so I defeated that skeleton, but they also took out one of my characters. Now, what I'm going to want to do probably is take out my tribesmen, and the reason why I want to do that is because they only cost 1 food as opposed to 2 salt. Now, I am producing more salts, but I still think I can get rid of my warrior because your archers are so valuable. Now, where this is going to go is into the Chaos Graveyard. And why that matters is because later on, that's because it was a Chaos character that killed that character. If it was somebody from the Empire, it would have gone up there. That matters because that's how they're going to get points at the end of the chapter. So that's what's going to happen. Now, there was one other thing. So this is my special ability, my pillage card here. This is my feat card. It says that after combat, if you have 1+ units here, you're going to gain 2 resources on, this is on your hero's hex. So I have to have my hero here. If my hero was over here, then that actually wouldn't have happened. So I'm going to take, again, I need to be able to build up my army again. So what I'm going to do is take some food here so that I'll be able to build up some warriors. This is a good thing. I'm in a good position right now here, and I'm saying this lightly because you need to know you're going to get beat down in this game. And so you might feel good for 1 second, and then as those chapters flip over, as they activate, all those bad things are going to happen. So far, I feel good about what's happening right now, though. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. I'm going to command for 1 food. This is my last food for the yellow player. I'm going to do this. Oh, do I want to do that? I might leave somebody in there, even if it's just 1 player, because I'm only fighting. Yep, I think I'm going to do that. I'm actually going to leave 2 characters in there. I'm going to leave an archer, and I'm going to leave one of those warriors in there, the Sellswords. That could end up being really bad for me. We'll see how that plays out. But I'm bringing 2 archers into battle against 1 skeleton, and I feel really good about that because I can attack before they can. So again, we're going to do the... oh, by the way, I didn't go over all of these things. Sorry about that. So if they would have had characters left there, then if I died, then I'm going to... remove the haven. They would remove the haven if there's no more of my characters there. Then the legions will retarget. That doesn't mean anything to you now, and it might not, but basically that means when the legions come out, they're going to target your havens and go there until they attack it. It could be that once they attack that and destroy it, or when they do destroy it, when they beat all your characters, all your units, then they would tear up your haven and then find a new target and start going after that one. All right, now I'm going to use my feats and items, which I did do that in the combat. And so after the damage happens, by the way, I've already done that, but I'm going to get points for destroying garrisons. That's what these are. And then also the skeletons. Okay, now I think I'm caught up. I did just move those in there. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with bringing all of those in there. So the same thing's going to happen. We're going to check the terrain, check any special things that might happen before the battle. Nothing's going down right now. So I'm just going to fire away with my archers, and they are not archers, so they're not going to do anything. And boom, all I needed is one. So it was worth it for me to leave a couple back there, and so that I can kind of move them up maybe later on in the round or in the game. This is going to go away. I'm going to get a victory point for the yellow player. Again, slowly but surely I'm kind of moving up that track, and that's a good thing. Now the red player is going to take another action, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to build a haven, so that's going to cost me 3 plunder, and it says you pay 3 plunder if there's no curse. So again, we can't build anything on a curse. We can't build a haven on a curse. In your hero's explored hex, place one of your havens there. So I'll do that, spin this, and put my haven there, and then hopefully build that up. Oh, looking in the wrong spot. My haven there. Yellow player is going to do, I think, the same thing. Yep, I'm going to go ahead and do that. We'll just take an action, put two plunder there, spin that. They're going to take their haven and put it out here. Boom. All right, well, apparently my battery died, and so I had to go back and redo some of this. But what I was going to show you is just a couple more things and how the actions play out. With the red player, I was going to quest, and so, yeah, it was here. I had actually already done this, but I'm going to retroactively do this just to show you how this works out. So again, with the questing, I take the action there, and I'm going to roll the hero dice. Now with the hero dice, you're going to, remember I'm not rolling the hero dice in the battle, but I will against the quest. And what this looks like is I'm going to gather up all these dice. So I've got 3 might, I've got a magic because of this one I added in there, and I've got a blue one. Now in this case, I just need to complete one of those, one of these parameters here, and then good stuff will happen. If I don't, bad stuff will happen. I did complete it barely the first time. We'll see what happens this time. This one I did get a shield, which is going to complete one of those, and that's just going to give me a victory point, and then for every skull I would also get a resource. And the first time I rolled 3 skulls, and that allowed me to finish this one, and so actually I think that was probably a little bit better because I got some more resources. In this case, I'm just going to take a plunder. Again, that is for solving this, and again I just gave myself that point there, and then I'm going to discard the quest. Now I didn't show you this, but at the bottom, had I rolled this and I was on the sea tower when I quested, and you can look and see these beforehand, so you might want to go to those areas. And in fact, I didn't look at this one. I probably should have done this one because I would have had a if it's on a no, it was on an ice waste hex, which yes I am. So if I would have done this one, I would have been able to roll an extra red die with my dice that I rolled. But as it were, it was not. So I'm going to discard this. I still solved it. Good stuff happened. I didn't lose any points or anything like that, which can happen in those quests. Now you might be thinking, you can get really good stuff and it's not super difficult necessarily to complete those, which that's not entirely true. They can be very difficult, but you don't want to do that all the time. One, because you can waste some actions doing that, but two, as later on in the game, as these cards are going to be refilling, sometimes bad stuff is going to happen with these cards. So this is an immediate thing that happens, bad stuff happens. So you want to manage that as best you can, so you're not just questing the entire time. Now those don't actually come out until we refill that a little bit later. The other thing I want to show you real fast, and this would have shown you all of the actions. Let's say I did move over here, and let's say I did move my units over into this area and I attacked the Banish. So the Banish was on, well, I have to reset this because I was showing this before my camera died. Still have the activation token that's on there. I'm just going to leave that to the side. But what is going to happen is when they attack, they're going to attack with 2 blue dice and then all of these other dice because they're at the threat level 5. Now, if I'm able to hit them during combat, this is like their health tracker, and so it's going to move down, and let's say I hit them, let's say 3 times, then later on in the battle, they're only going to roll this many dice during combat, and then that for the archer. And so that's good, but again, during that event phase, it's going to move up too, so you have to make sure that you're managing some of that. And that kind of gives you an idea of how the actions play out. So let me just run through some of these other things. Activate the legions and hordes once for each activation token on them in initiative order, lowest to highest. And so in this case, I would activate this one first. Now again, these are not going to be removed, so I'm actually only having 7 actions until I can activate those. But when they activate with the hordes, this one you're going to place a curse there. So take one of the curse tokens like this, you're going to place it into that spot, which is again bad stuff because you can't attack as well there, but also you're not able to put your havens out there. Then I'm going to move the horde, so I would move this one hex en route to the capital, and so if you have other options, there's actually a like do these things first, and then that helps you have an idea. So like for example, if I have 2 different options, well, first you're going to want to look and see if there's a haven there. If there is, they're going to go that direction instead, so they can attack you on their way to attack the capital and the empire. Then combat's going to begin if that breaks out, and then if the horde wins the combat, then that's going to remove a haven. So that's the Nemesis phase. Production phase, we're going to gain resources based on your total havens. So what you're going to do is look on the farthest open one to the right, haven spot. You're going to gain those resources. In this case, I would gain 1 salt, 1 of the plunder, and then 4 food. And again, more and more that we get out, that's going to increase and increase. You're also going to gain resources on your havens. So when you have these havens, this case I'm going to get 2 salt, this one I'm going to get 1 of every resource and a victory point. So you want to make sure that you're not losing your home hex. And again, as more and more of these are flipped, there's different options of things that are going to come out there. So that's gaining your resources, and then your haven resources. Now the scoring phase, I'll just show you this really fast, but this says that the Empire is going to score 1 victory point for every hex with any garrison. So in this case, they have 1, 2, 3, 4 garrisons, giving them 4 points of the Empire. Then 1 for every legion in play. They don't have any in play right now, so they wouldn't get any. And then 2 for every faction in the Imperial Graveyard. That's where they're going to get victory points based on the different factions that they're taking out, whether it's us or Chaos. Then Chaos is going to score 1 for every curse in play, which I didn't mention that, but they're going to get points for that. And I forgot to mention that because that becomes very important. You have to be able to clear those off as well. So in this case, they have 2 out there. Whoops, wrong one. 2. 1 for every horde in play. They've got 2, so they're going to get 2 points there. And then 2 for every faction in the Chaos Graveyard. They do have 1 there, and so they're going to get 2 additional points for there. We return all of our units from the graveyards to the reserve. So they'll come from there back into our reserve. By the way, I didn't mention this. You typically have your characters on your board. They have spots for them in the reserve. I just don't want to clutter up the board very much. I just have them off camera over here, but they would normally be on top of your boards. And then players are going to score 2 points for each of their havens in play. So we're each going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Points for every special hex that you have. In this case, we would each get 1 from those. Whoops, there we go. And then 1 to any player per 5 resources paid. So you can pay 5 resources to gain a point. You don't want to do that, right? Especially right now. Later on, you want to do it if you have those resources to do that. And then you're going to play through that. Now, a couple things to know is I rushed through this, so we didn't take all of our actions. There's a good chance, actually, though, that the way things were going, we got pretty lucky on how things were panning out. We probably would have had more points because we would have potentially battled more. I know that yellow would have moved up here, maybe, and battled them. It wouldn't have been a terrible move, or at least, moving to attack the banished or something like that. But it's possible I could have gotten more points because of that. But the game gets harder and harder. So even if you feel very good about completing the first chapter and like, yes, I did it, I did so well. Yeah, don't get too excited because it's going to change very quickly. And we didn't even have any of the legions out there for the Imperial Army, and they are beast. They're not good. It's bad stuff. So anyway, that gives you a gist on how things play out. All right, now let's talk about the art and components. So the components you can see, I mean, you can see them all out here, are fantastic. I mean, they just are. And everything comes in these trays where you have all of these, you know, you put all your faction stuff in there. You have all of your walls and your towers and all that stuff. There's a place for everything. Everything fits perfectly in the box. You've got your tray for your resources. You've actually got 2 of these so you can put them in different locations. Each of the factions, let me step over here and grab this. Each of the factions has these other, their own containers where you're going to put all of the different characters and all your havens and victory point markers and your cards, and everything fits so well in there. Fits so snug in the box. It's fantastic. Some people will not like these standees. Now, these are not cardboard standees. These are plastic, and they have this kind of heat transfer image on there. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I'm a miniature painter. I mean, I paint miniatures. I'm not great at it, but if I have miniatures, I try to paint them. There's a ton that I have that aren't painted, but I like to do that. I enjoy it, and I think it looks better on the board. I will say, for somebody who doesn't want to paint everything, I'm actually really thankful for these standees because they're nice, they're durable. These plastic pieces just come off, but they fit so perfectly inside there. Stand up, everything looks really nice on the board. I really, really like those standees a lot. And I hope more games do that. Your garrisons, or not your garrisons, the Empire's garrisons are really cool because they stack on top of each other. You just put this in that spot, and then this goes in this spot, and everything just fits so perfectly. Love the production. The production is through the roof. All the cards are really nice, thick cardstock. Sometimes I sleeve cards that aren't that way. I would never sleeve these cards. There's just no reason to because they're so thick and really well done. I like the art. There's not actually a ton of art. You know, you're looking out on the board and it's kind of this wasteland. As you flip the tiles over, there's more stuff, and the art on the tiles is really cool. The quest card tile art on there is cool. I like the look of the box. It shows you what, you know, this is what you're doing. You can look at this and think, oh yeah, that's some battling and stuff going on there. That's what's going to happen. And I just love it. I love the production so much. But does the gameplay match up with that? Yes, I think so. In some ways, and in some ways, maybe it could fall a little bit short. And I'll explain that as we go. So some things that I really like. This world that Nemesis.Games created, I think is incredible. You have all these very unique characters with your heroes, with the units that they have that follow those heroes. The chaos and the Empire. It's really cool that we didn't see this yet, but what would happen later on as the game is like the chaos. They don't like the Empire, right? They're also going to try to destroy them. So we're battling with each other, but they're also battling, which makes it really interesting. The Empire is really trying to enslave everybody, and the chaos. They're just trying to make everything, you know, bad. Like they want you to face something worse than death. I mean, that's what they're trying to do, and it's that world that they have created is so unique and so cool. And in fact, I would love to see more stuff like spin off of this. I'm not an RPGer, but I could see that being a thing that spins off of this, or some other, you know, games that fit with inside this world. There's already lots of expansion content with I've got another box down there that has 4 new factions in there, and they all play very unique. So all of that is really cool. But the world is cool. I like this style of game. I really enjoy cooperative games where you're kind of battling it out. And I think this one adds more unique pieces because there's 2 villains. It is Euro-y in the sense that you are trying to gain victory points, and that's the win condition. If this game ended right now, we would lose because even though I'm so far ahead, this character is not, and they have to be able to catch up. And so that's something you have to think about too, trying to balance that out. I might want to leave some of these enemies for this other character to attack just so that they can get those victory points, even though I might have a super strong army and I can do it on my own. I might not want to do that. I enjoy how the game plays out, building up your armies. I like dice rolling. I like having these outcomes for the battles that are not already determined. You know, I like having this mystery in the air of what's going to happen whenever you roll those dice. The questing is really cool for that same reason. Now, let me talk about a negative, and this could be a fairly big negative. I rushed through the rules, and again, I probably missed some things along the way. You can see this chapter track over here. Hopefully you can. Actually, my camera's kind of blacked out right now. I can't see if you can see it. But it has this long track over here that you go down, and this is a lot of upkeep. A lot of upkeep. It just is. There's a lot of things going on. You do your refresh phase where you're flipping cards over and taking your points back and all that. Now, you do that in a lot of other games too, but it seems like in this game it's a little more to the extreme. And so in that sense, there's more things that you have to keep up with this and all of these things happening with two different Nemesis that you're having to control and realize, okay, wait, what does this character do? Oh, I forgot that they should have rolled an extra die because we were here, and like, oh no, I didn't roll my archers during the combat phase. I only did it during that archery phase. So there's a lot of things like that can be challenging, and in that sense, I would say if you pick this game up like once a year, that's going to be a little bit of a challenge because you're going to have to read through the rule book. Now, the rule book is really well done. In fact, again, like production value is fantastic on the rule book, and it's got a nice little index in the back that you can go and look rules up. But it's not a heavy game. The actions aren't heavy or anything like that. It's just there's a lot of room to be able to forget little small rules that or things that dice that you didn't roll because I forgot to read this at the very bottom. So there's a lot to keep up with that, which knocks it down a little bit for me. So in that case, I'll go ahead and move into my final thoughts. Really, really, this is a cool game. I like this one a lot. I actually consider this one for my top 10 for 2021. But the thing where that knocked it down was how often can I get to the table, because I'm not playing one game a year or a month. We're playing lots of games. And so for me, this isn't one that I can easily go back to, and that becomes a big factor for me. So that's what knocked it down a little bit and made it not make that list. But I might feel differently if I didn't play as many games, if I didn't have to go through as many review things that we do. I might really want to dive deep into this game and try all the different factions, and I've played all of them, and the expansion stuff down there. I've dug pretty deep into this game, considering how much stuff that we have to go through. However, it knocks it because I just can't. I can't invest that much into rules that I might forget. And so, am I going to pick this up a year from now? I hope so, but if I do, I'm going to have to go back and relearn some of those rules. So that knocks it down a little bit for me. So as it is, I'm going to keep this game at an 8, which is really high, by the way, really, really high. But it's at low end of the 8, and I almost consider it a 7.5. But when I sit down and play it, I'm like, oh, I get really immersed, and it's really this cool experience when I play it. The problem is, it's even though this is kind of a qualification for the 8, is that if you suggest it, I'll play it. That is probably very, very true. I probably will. And I will suggest it sometimes, but it's got to be in a very specific situation. It also can be a lengthy game. I didn't say that, but that's one chapter that we played through this entire time. You're adding each chapter. You can play a short game where you just play 2 chapters, and that's fine. You can play through all 4 of them. I suggest playing through all 4 of them, but just know that that's going to be quite the lengthy experience. So anyway, that's an 8 for me, a really high score. Could be higher if it was one that there was maybe a little more streamlining to the rules, and I don't know. But that's still great score. One of my favorite games of the year for sure for 2021. Quite enjoyed it. So if you'd like to get in touch with us, you can reach out to us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. That's at MeepleTownGames. You can also email us if you want, MeepleTownGames@gmail.com. There's lots of different ways to connect with us. MeepleTownGames.com. All of those things will show up on there. Also, we try to stay active on our guild at Board Game Geek, so you can go to Board Game Geek. Guild number 3407 is the guild number for Meepletown. So until next time, thanks for coming down to Meepletown.
Thanks for joining us, and thanks to our Patreon supporters for making content like this possible. If you would like to become a Patreon supporter, go to patreon.com/Meepletown. To follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, find us at MeepleTownGames. Finally, to connect with us and other residents of Meepletown, you can join Guild 3407 at BoardGameGeek.com. Until next time, thanks for coming down to Meepletown.